Welcome to episode 70, Chris.
Happy New Year, Mr. Craig Graves.
2020.
We have arrived. I think I just looked at the calendar and this sucker's coming out on the first day of the new decade. What'd you think about our timing with the release date?
It's hard to believe it's been 20 years since Y2K, man.
And we are doing this as a pre-recorded reality, so hopefully we're all feeling healthy and happy and not too hungover. New Year's Eve at the beginning of the roaring 20s.
2020s.
I tell you what, I hope it's been a great holiday season for everybody out there. Welcome to a brand new year, a brand new decade. And I'll tell you, before we get to our normal introduction of the show and the concept and the topic and everything, he doesn't know that I'm going to do this. So he's catching this fresh from his genuine, original perspective, as we usually do to Mr. Graves. Mr. Craig Graves, I really want to express my gratitude, my enjoyment, my appreciation for what you do in this little concoction I've kind of created of Through a Therapist's Eyes. You add so much to the show. You do a lot for the show. I want you to know that it's highly appreciated. It's highly professional. It's just so super quality. I couldn't even begin to have been able to do anything like this without you and what you do. And I want the audience to kind of know and just, appreciate it with me and understand, you spend your time and you spend your energy and your passion on this. And I think that really we, in a small little way all over the world, are the benefactors for your efforts and energies. And, you don't really receive a whole heck of a lot of money for it. You really don't get what we maybe hope to be able to do in the future of, $50,000 advertising, catched fees from Coca-Cola and whatnot that we visualize and we dream about. You really to date have not got much. And I just wanted to really start off the decade and the year trying to put mere words on how I feel what you're doing for us all.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Chris. Did I mention I was quitting? Did I tell you that yet? No, man, seriously, I appreciate you. I appreciate your words. I thank you.
So you ready for another epedition?
Ready or not, here we are.
Did you hear epedition?
Epedition. Ready or not, man, we're here.
This is Through a Therapist's Eyes, the podcast. He is Craig Graves. I am Chris Gazdick. We invite you to see the world through the mental health lens of a real substance abuse and mental health therapist, creating emotional growth. We are really not delivering therapy services in any way. Please be aware of that. Grow with us this year. This is we want this to be the year of growth for our project of blowing up myths and talking about important topics of mental health and substance abuse. We want to figure this thing out together. The human emotional experience. We're still trying to learn, and we want to figure this thing out together. So join us, grow with us. We really a special note about that. We were talking about marketing stuff and whatnot, Craig, and we have a mutual friend and something that stuck with me. You all, whom are the listeners of this show, are the engines that make it grow. It just flew out of my mouth that way. A little rhyme. This stuff just happens. But you really do. Who listens to this show, we want to arm you. You want to be the engine that helps us grow. And that's word of mouth. And that's, I really want you to feel hopeful, to play off of our last show concept and encouraged. And really, you're going to be what helps us grow. So please tell a friend, send a link. Talk about it. We hope these topics create discussions with your wives or with your husbands and with your friends and with your parents and your family, so that we continue to do what we want to do, which is blow up myths and blow up stereotypes and gain information and grow and really, honestly, as example, about a couple weeks ago, Craig, we did a rundown on an article where we try to figure it out in real time, trying to figure out what some of these things are. You talk about it and you figure things out. So please, you are armed. You are our growth engine. Mm-hmm. Get on it. What do you say, Craig? Get after it.
Get after it. That's right.
That's like a quote I've heard from you lately, man.
That's a Jocko thing, man. That's not mine.
So you want to talk about Asperger's tonight, maybe? You willing?
Let's do it. Yeah.
You willing? Now, this is for people that follow our show. We did a show on mass shooting events, and I kind of have it in my mind where mental health gets kind of blamed unfairly, and I remember one of the headlines on that research article that we combed through, Craig. Mental health is oftentimes a factor, but it's not the cause. You remember that?
I remember that.
Well,
yeah.
I was just thinking about what are we going to do next, and I thought, we haven't even talked about autism or Asperger's on this show yet, and that is a condition, that is a reality, that is a diagnosis, that is a real thing that people struggle with, and people get scared of and uncomfortable with it a lot of times, particularly when somebody's severely autistic, and there's no need to, there's no reason to, it's really, I think. Ignorance reigns when we have fear about that kind of thing, So we want to learn a little bit about the whole spectrum of autism today. I'm going to try to make it fun, but some of this, particularly in the beginning of it, there's no way. It's going to be kind of technical, with understanding what the diagnosis is, because you want to get a well-rounded understanding of what it is. You got to know what the symptoms are that we're looking at. Okay. So I apologize for some of the, I like to have fun on here and laugh and goof off and go back and forth, but if we're going to get onto this, we have to understand, the characteristics that this looks like, the specifics that we're looking for in diagnosing, really. So where we go? First of all, we have a field change that occurred that drives me nuts, Craig. We can't use the term Asperger's anymore. Did you know that?
I think you told me that, or somebody told me that
we can't say
at one point.
We can't diagnose it.
Right.
Drives me nuts.
So you can't diagnose Asperger's anymore.
For the rest of my career, I'm going to be a non-compliant clinician. Because I'm gonna talk about Asperger's and go with that. I feel like it's different than what now we have is the Autism Spectrum, and Asperger's is what we would call high functioning autism, whereas low functioning or severe autism, you can't really have a conversation with the autistic kid.
Okay, so who makes those kind of decisions?
Yeah, the boards and
there must be some kind of money thing on the back end somewhere, right? I mean, they aren't just changing things around out of the.
Well, the idea behind it, I don't want to get too lost in this, but the idea behind it is one that I actually concur with greatly and really have thought of for the most of my career with the idea of spectrums. The idea is, like you have anxiety, mild, moderate, and severe. So you have autism, mild, moderate, and severe. And mild autism is actually what we used to call Asperger's. That's the going thought. So that's something I just want you to understand and get the idea of that. When we are talking about the autism, that a lot of people are talking about the old school term Asperger's. What do you know about Asperger's? What do you perceive, Craig? Let's do one of your cold things that we haven't done to you in a little while. What is it?
What is Asperger's?
Yes.
I'm not sure that I totally know. I've had conversations about Asperger's before, but I'm not sure that I could give a real good. I think that people who have Asperger's tend to be really focused on certain things.
Right.
They tend to be, I think they're more into individual kind of activities versus team activities. And
right.
Maybe when something's on their mind, they make sure that it gets accomplished. They go for it. They become laser focused on that particular item until it's taken care of.
Right on.
We talked about Alex Hanold in the last episode we did, the Christmas episode, and we watched about 20 minutes of that before the fight the other night. And I think you said it looked like he may have some Asperger type tendencies.
Oh, did I? The mountain climber?
Yeah, his father had Asperger's, and you said, well, he might have a couple of Asperger tendencies
Some
himself,
traits. Mm-hmm.
which would make sense because he's so laser focused when he's climbing.
The guy actually said, I don't know, I'll probably have a lot of girlfriends in my life because I'm going to choose climbing over a girlfriend any day. You remember when he said that?
Yeah, he did say that. But Alex Hanold is laser focused, and obviously, and he got that thing done. It took him a long time to get it done, but he did it.
So let's talk about what it is in diagnostic terms. I'm going to blow through this, man. I'm going to go fast because I don't want to make it a dry clinical show, but just to get an idea of what it is that we're talking about. Really, we're talking about impaired social interactions. Okay, that's the big criterion. The Asperger's kids or adults, they're very intellectual. They're very concrete. They're very fact-oriented, so that they're very much organized around that, as opposed to the emotional matters, right? So there's a very natural struggle with emotions and emotional matters. Can you have relationships without them? Right?
Without emotional matters?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right? Not very well. Hi, Craig. How are you? I think you're really a good guy.
Well, that was one of the things that Alex was trying to learn on if you saw the movie for Solo,
you're right.
He's got a girlfriend now, and he had to, but his upbringing was not very emotional. They didn't hug or say "I love you" or those kind of things.
They may not, but you're right. And we did get far enough into that to see that, and I want to jump in on that because that has nothing to do with social and emotional surroundings and teaching and learning. That, as a matter of fact, I'm remembering, Craig. That's when I made that comment.
Yeah, and Alex Hanold may not be Asperger's, but you did say that you thought that
it looked like it, and that was why. Because when he started talking about, I actually have to learn, like what are the rules? I have to figure out how I'm supposed to, express affection and what you're looking for me. Because they're kind of like, why would I say hello? I mean, I'm here, you're here, and we're at the table. I mean, I don't need to do a greeting. What's the greeting? What's the purpose of it?
Yeah, that's true. And so he was trying to learn how to be emotionally in tune with his girlfriend. And one of the funny things about the movie or about his story, is when he was a kid and he would go climbing. You're talking about social interactions. He would rather climb alone with no rope than to ask somebody to be his climbing partner, and that's how he got into free soloing. Is he didn't want to ask anybody to be his partner.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what we see with this thing, man, right? So let me go through this. I'll go back to the dry thing. So it's cool because those are in real terms, In real terms, that's the way, a daily life or a life pattern is. And so it'll be cool to hear these criterion and then look at examples of that because you got to, it's hard to kind of, I mean, can you imagine, Craig? It's hard to understand what it's like to not be dialed in or to really even feel the emotions that you're supposed to feel, but you don't really understand why giving a tight grasped hug is nice. It's like, I don't like that. You're touching my skin and it bothers me. To not have an emotional understanding, it's hard to experience that. So impaired social interactions is what we look for with one of the two, with at least two of the following examples, right? Impairment with nonverbal behavior, failure to develop peer relationships developmentally appropriate, lacking in willingness or interests to share interest with other people, and then also a lack of social or emotional reciprocity. So we're looking for at least two of those. And we're also looking for restricted, repetitive, or stereotyped behavior, or interests or activities by one of these. An intense focus or preoccupation, inflexible adherence to non-essential routines or rituals, repetitive motor mannerisms. They'll often have tics and movements and body movements. Severe autism is like you're having whole body movements and it's like, oh my God, what's wrong with that guy, mommy? Like, that's weird. because they're basically like looking like they're hitting themselves in whole body contortions, but it's a soothing activity. Anyway, preoccupied with parts of objects, and they see patterns instead of the whole thing. Third, nearly or no early development language delay. Fourth, no major cognitive delays in early development, no major other developmental delays or having schizophrenia. And that was actually what is criterion that comes directly from our Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, the DSM. You ever heard of the DSM? We've talked about it.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is now, but you have used that term on the show before.
Diagnostic and Statistical Manual.
Yeah, I knew it was some kind of manual.
Yeah. Well, that was the old criterion, and what we look for in autism now is largely the same. Okay. It's interesting that autism is now seen as likely most of the same to Asperger's used then to what we do now. Whereas in the DSM-4, autism, it was a lack of language development or an inability to sustain a conversation. Stereotyped or repetitive use of language or idiosyncratic language. It was all like prior to the age of 3. So they had actually physically delays in language and social interaction. So we've kind of rethought a lot of that. I don't know, that's like too technical, and kind of the changes that maybe new research, Craig, you asking the question, who decides these things and whatever. I mean, like, we research them, we learn about diagnoses, and I just, it's an interesting switch in how we changed and why we changed, in early language delays being autism versus now it's more like just scaling it in a spectrum and calling it all autism and just losing the Asperger's name. But I just want to read this because I loved what Autism Speaks said about what is autism. Okay, so check this out. Autism, or autism spectrum disorder, refers to a broad range of conditions characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behavior, speech, and nonverbal communication. According to the Centers for Disease Control, autism affects an estimated 1 in 59 children. That's a big number in the United States today. We know that there is not one autism, but many subtypes, most influenced by a combination of genetic and environmental factors. Because autism is a spectrum disorder, each person with autism has a distinct set of strengths. Did you hear that, Craig? Each has a distinct set of strengths and challenges. The ways in which people with autism learn, think, and problem solve can range from highly skilled to severely challenged. Some people with autism may require significant support in their daily lives, like they can't do activities of daily functioning, while others may need less support, and in some cases, they live entirely independent. It's a wide range here. Several factors may influence the development of autism, and it is often accompanied by sensory sensitivities and medical issues, such as gastrointestinal GI disorders, seizures or sleep disorders, as well as mental health challenges, such as anxiety, depression, and attention issues. I emphasize something there in Autism Speaks' description of what autism is. Did you hear what I emphasized?
No, I didn't catch it.
Right. Skills. They have different types of skilled ability. Highly skilled ability. Like really highly skilled ability, Craig. These people are not crazy and dysfunctional and mentally retarded or any of those types of fears that people, kind of have. These people have a tendency to have brain functioning that's actually, we don't understand it because it's all neurological and whatnot, entirely wired differently.
Yeah, I think that's true. 1 in 59, that's a low number.
Low?
One time I thought it was like 1 in 150. Has that changed recently? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it seems like it seems like it's prevalent. Autism is prevalent today. And I remember back when Rain Man came out. Remember the movie Rain Man with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman?
Yeah.
And that was the first time I had ever heard of autism, I think.
It was a pretty good depiction.
And I think 60 Minutes did a thing about autism. A guy who's a piano player. and this guy could just play beautiful piano. I mean, like Mozart.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just amazing. But
Yeah.
it seems like now that it's a lot more prevalent, man. I don't want to get into a big what's causing it deal, but it is increasing, right?
I don't even know if it's increasing, to be honest with you, and I don't want to go off on that bunny trail either because, I mean, it might be increasing, just like the issues with ADD and, various mental processing disorders, thought processing disorders and things like that. I mean, it's processed foods and different things that we're seeing increases on. Who knows? I mean, the effect of media and computers and electro waves going through our brains. I mean, who knows, man? But some of these things are definitely seeming to increase. Some of them might be we're also a heck of a lot more aware of it than we ever were.
Yeah, blah blah. That's what I think.
Come on, man.
I think that happens. We say that a lot of times. We're just more aware of it now. Yeah. BS.
Okay, I don't know.
1 in 59 kids has it, and now today we're more aware of it than we were 20 years ago. Come on.
Yeah. I'm just going to leave it alone. And the indicators of autism usually appear before age 2 or 3. Let's just move along. Blah, blah, blah. I hope that gave a little bit of an idea on what the symptoms are. And I hope that wasn't too dry and crazy because I really want to get more into real emotions, what it's really like to live a life with this as you identify this. Because, let me go back. I also read what Autism Speaks for another reason. Oh, you ever hear of Autism Speaks as a thing?
I'm not sure. It sounds familiar.
Yep.
But didn't you just say that, and then where that thing came from?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm thinking of it.
Yeah, you've probably seen it. I mean, it has been advertised and it's been out there, and they're amazingly validating, and validating is not the right word I want to use. They've put so much more attention and focus on an important issue that hasn't been addressed for years prior to, and brought it out into the public's eye. They've done so many good works for people terribly struggling with this stuff. Gotten services for them, opened up our awareness to it as a society, included these people in our society instead of banned them out of fear and disgust for something that we don't understand. Autism Speaks has done a wonderful job for the world, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So real emotions of experienced in a person's life with what I'm still referring to as Asperger's, but understand, again, we're talking about the autism spectrum, and these are higher functioning autistic kids. Before we go on, let me highlight again, these guys are highly skilled. There's nothing to be fearful of or feel weird about. A lot of times, particularly with Asperger's and the higher functioning people, they are amazing problem solvers. And they get so interested in what they're interested in, and they know everything about it. It's an incredible resource. I know of a guy, for instance, that I have learned so much about space. You know why, Craig?
Why is that?
Because he's interested in space and he's learned so much about it. He happens to have autism, Asperger's.
So you've learned about space?
Yeah. I mean, the things that he knows and we've talked about, it's really just absolutely cool.
I bet it is, man.
It's absolutely, and
I'd like to talk to him.
Oh, dude, he's a wealth of information. It's so fascinating, but he's interested in it in a hyper-focused way, and I think that he should be on a university level teaching this stuff. He should be.
Maybe he should.
Right? He really should be.
Yeah.
And that's what Asperger's can do. So I just want to highlight, like, if you're freaking out as a new mom and your kid, oh my God, he has autism. What does that mean? It means he might be really, really freaking smart and do amazing things in the world for us as a society.
That'd be pretty cool, right?
Yeah. You might have trouble along the way because it does cause emotional challenges. But I ask you, who doesn't have emotional challenges? I mean, come on, right?
Everybody does, man.
Right?
Yeah.
So these social and emotional realities they struggle with, that's what's real, and that's what they have such a hard time with. So real emotions of experienced people. Let's move on. What is this? How does this affect, and who is it? Right? Like what do they experience? What we got to understand is, though they are odd, they can be odd people. They just want to be loved. They just want to be cared for. They just want to be understood. They have, an inability to really see the world like is typical, and they might have eccentric behaviors, and they out of the box for sure. But they're really just like us. We all want to be loved and cared for. It must be terrible just to feel so alone and, not able to enjoy what we all want, which is connection. It's like tormenting. They're not socially connecting with their peers, Craig. They don't really play well in the sandbox, and they get very, very frustrated, and they're very, very frustrating because they could be so inflexible because they're very rigid with rules, and it just has to be this way. I've seen people that are in groups of like, we'll just say Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and stuff, and he's teaching a class, and the little kiddos are running around, and he gets so frustrated and blows up because you're not following the rules. So there's an oddity, there's a difficulty emotionally, but they're really there trying to teach the kids. They just don't have the patience for it. I definitely won't say the name, but I happen to believe I've come across a teacher that was a middle school teacher that might likely have some of this stuff. Shouldn't be a middle school teacher. There's a lot of problems that creates. So anyway, we got to be aware of what happens in the real emotions for somebody so that we can kind of work with them and capitalize on this amazingly cool brain functioning that they have. Though it's different, though we don't understand it and it seems odd, it's amazing the way that they think. Is that coming through, Craig? Can you hear?
Yeah.
Like that. What I'm trying to convey.
Yeah, I think you're saying that they're amazing folks, and they got things going on just like the rest of us do, emotionally, and they're just strict to the rules and that kind of thing. But that's to me, that's more like a personality kind of trait.
It's just people are afraid of people that have autism,
particularly
if it's more
I've never
severe.
Heard that. I've never heard that at all.
Particularly if it's more severe, they don't want to handle them. They don't. I mean, they're the kid in the classroom that's causing problems. Get this kid troublemaker out of my hair. I don't understand him anyways.
Well, I think if somebody's got that attitude, they shouldn't be a teacher either.
Right? But he's weird. You don't understand him. He's not acting right. He's off. We're gonna watch that one. These types of thoughts.
Yeah.
They may not be expressed, but I guarantee you they're there.
They may be there. But anyway, I was going to go down a different tangent. Like, some kids are not meant to sit at a desk 8 hours a day, getting spoon-fed information from a textbook.
That's some of it.
Whether they have Aspergers or not.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, that's some of it. We need to understand this stuff so that we can kind of incorporate it all into our world, and to be included in the reindeer games this holiday season, right? This is the weird reindeer that doesn't fit in our group. Well, you know what? Yeah, maybe they do the best than anyone else, like Rudolph. Sorry for the Rudolph, but it just came to me. Autism needs much more intervention and care, whereas Asperger's people, though grossly misunderstood and often disregarded, need to be accepted. And we're talking about that. Autism that's more severe forms, I mean, they really have a hard time functioning in the world. They need care. They're Autism Spectrum, and when you get into moderate or severe autism, they may need a group home. They need somebody to cook for them because they're just really not able to function very well. So that's why I kind of get frustrated when we're not allowed to say Asperger's anymore, because I see it very different. Let me see the values. What did I write here? The values of autism. Tell you what, where are we at on time? Yeah, we're probably about there. Let's switch maybe midstream here, and we'll come back with the values of what this looks like further than the drawbacks. What do they offer? Why am I saying they have an amazing brain and how cool they are? And what are the drawbacks? What do they really need help with? And then we'll end up with some examples and stuff. But why don't you take us our break and tell them where we can get Christmas presents now that Christmas is over? from
Well, New Year's presents. So if you're on a health kick for New Year's, we have a link on our website that points to a supplement company where you can get 126 different products, including CBD. Chris and I did a show on CBD oils last year. You can get nutritional supplements. You can get hormone creams, sleep aids, all kinds of great stuff. 126 different high-quality products. We know the owners of this company. They're great people. And you have to go to our website first, look for the whole family products link, and click on that. And then Chris and I will get credit for the sale, and you'll be supporting our show.
So the values of Asperger's, what do they bring to society, to our group? Not only Rudolph's red-nosed reindeer being valued and bringing it to the group, they bring things to us. And this is why we need to value as we understand what these Asperger's people can do. Craig, Asperger's people are deeply knowledgeable. What would you do with a deeply knowledgeable person on your business team?
I could make some good progress.
Right?
I need smart people.
Right?
Yeah.
Why? When you get somebody who's, I've heard you said this before, I want somebody who's ready to jump in there and learn the job and shows an interest in doing that. You won't find anybody unlike Asperger's people when they're interested in something. I mean, when they turn it on, man, and they're thirsty for knowledge about a topic, I'm telling you. And I ask you, what could you do with a deeply knowledgeable person that wants even more?
You could do a lot. You could do a lot with somebody with that.
Yeah, you go far.
You can.
They have an excellently logical problem-solving process. Okay? So you and I have been in many offices, Craig. What's it like with small office politics?
It's not fun. It's not fun.
Right?
I don't like small office politics at all.
What gets in the way?
With small office politics?
Yeah.
What gets in the way?
Yeah.
I'm not sure where you're going
Why
with
is
the
it
question.
bad? Why does it get in our way?
It creates divisions,
right?
And it's gossip and stuff like that.
Emotions.
Yeah.
Well, if I don't really experience emotions very much, I'm not really understanding nor caring about emotions. I don't be mindful of that. This is the logical problem.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be helpful for office politics?
Not for office politics, no.
I'm saying it would be because it cuts through.
Oh, I see.
all the emotion.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm following you.
Sorry, I didn't say that
leaving
word.
me out there behind. So
My brain's
there's
getting
no
tired.
charge emotionally with the
Yes.
office, with the office BS.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
They just cut through the bull BS.
Right.
There's
Got
no
it.
bull here. It's just this is what we need to do. This is the way we need to do it, and this is the best way to do it. And I've calculated the results, so here we go. Let's go do that.
I like that attitude too.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not going to be very emotional about, well, you have pride, and we have to do this, and we have to cater to your sadness, and you're having a bad day. No, it's like, look, here's the deal. This is what we need to do.
Right.
That has great value.
Absolutely.
Often, third, highly intelligent people. Okay? They literally can be genius. Mensa level, tested IQ, super high genius people. I mean, when I'm telling you they're intelligent and deeply knowledgeable, like their brains clip on another pace that you and I can't do when you're processing data and information. It's amazing. So this often is misunderstood because they're odd also. As high as their intellectual ability is, their social and emotional ability is lower. Like they just don't get it. As a matter of fact, one of the things I kind of do when I'm wondering about, maybe this person has Asperger's, maybe this person doesn't. I'm not really sure. I don't quite know what's going on here. I'll do a test, right? In my head, and what I'll do is I'll go like this. Craig, I'm gonna do it with you. We're awkward, so I need to do my left hand, not my right hand, right? I'm gonna shake your hand, and I'm gonna ask you, what it means, right? Ready? What does that handshake mean?
I mean, hello. I mean, what's up? I mean, it's just a cordial introduction.
No, wait a minute. I'm gonna do it right with our right hands. Okay. What's that one
What's
mean?
it mean?
Yep.
I don't know, man. You Ask me all these hard questions.
Oh my gosh, come on. We're sitting at a table, so it's kind of hard. Well, I'll give you an easy one. Look. Right?
That's kind of like a what's up kind of deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, what's the first one that I did?
That's more like a formal thing, business kind of deal.
Right?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah.
Okay. What is this one?
That's more of a caring kind of thing.
It's a caring thing. I grasped his hand and I grasped his hand with my other hand.
Yeah, so the first time was like a hand slap, kind of locked up fingers. The second time was a formal kind of business type handshake, and the third time Chris grabbed both. He put both his hands on my hand when I shook his hand.
So it really has different meanings.
Yeah. So sometimes when I'm at a funeral or if things are somber, then I'll shake somebody's hand with two hands like that.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And maybe even with a grasp.
Yeah.
On the shoulder or that type of thing. It conveys. An Asperger's person is not really going to know the difference between any of those and the several other handshakes that we have.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So like I said, when I'm doubtful, I'm kind of trying to figure out, like, maybe you have this, maybe you don't, where you at? I'll do that, and I'll see how they respond to identifying those different handshakes. Yeah. And not only will they start out with that like you started out, they'll continue. Like, they cannot get it very well. They don't know the difference between a dap, and a little finger tickle fun thing and a very formal political handshake.
Got it. Okay.
For a business meeting.
I got you.
Right, so that's an odd. They have odd social skills. They're not going to look at you in the eye. I wish we had video for this one. It would be much more helpful. They're down here. They're kind of okay. Well, how are you, Craig? My head totally is turned. He's looking literally at my ear right now, but I'm talking to him. Like, yeah, hey, having a good day, man. Yeah, okay. I mean, they're not right here with you, eye to eye, looking at you, engaging you when you talk. It's odd. It's just not dialed in, right? And you would receive me that way, and you were like, "Yeah, I ain't hanging with this dude. This guy's creepy. He's weird. I don't understand that. He's not acting right the way that we're supposed to. He's not following the social rules because they don't know them. We don't know them. The social rules don't make any difference to me, right? So that's why it seems odd. But back to another thing that they offer. Besides being deeply knowledgeable and excellently logic problem solvers and genius level intelligence, you know what else they do, Craig?
What's that?
They see patterns. It's amazing. You ever been to an escape room?
Yeah.
I have not.
My daughter loves escape rooms.
Does she?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have not been there. I had a person I was talking to. It was really cool. Clearly he had Asperger's. And with his business practice, his group, if you will, they went to an escape room. This guy, he was so funny describing how he went about doing that. You know why? Because he was bored. I mean, he was like, it literally, he realized he was social aware enough to know that, like, these people need to figure out the solutions, and they're struggling, and they're running around, they're all having fun, and he's just standing there. And I guess there's a timer or whatever, and they went through three or four doors and whatever, but because the first door, he like helped them get out of it in 5 minutes. He's like, all right, there's the sign, there's the light, look at that, put that in there, go, and okay, we're through the door. Yeah. Like, he ruined it. It was so easy for him because he saw the patterns, riddles and problem solving, and the escape room was so simple for him. So he just sat back and let everyone else run around. He's like already figured it out in his head, but he's just trying to let them have fun because the engagement would have been done in 15 minutes when it's supposed to be 2 hours.
Yeah, right.
So they see patterns. They're sort of a special social OCD. They're getting into the details. It's fascinating. I mean, they just see things like people typically don't see them. They'll follow rigidly like clockwork established patterns, or especially when interested in laws or rules or established best practices. How valuable does it sound to have somebody that is like going to be clockwork? We found the best way to do something. Are they going to do it differently ever? No. You're trying to manage somebody? Is that a very difficult management problem? Right? It's awesome. It's like, great. Set them up, figure it out. It's done. It'll be done that way every time. Very, very useful that way. Likely as a result of that, to a certain extent, very loyal, You know, I mean, they're going to be, they're not going to change. They don't like things to change. We can't have anything different. We're going to keep the same. As a matter of fact, they struggle greatly when things suddenly become different. They're like, oh, no, we can't make it different. It has to be this way.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Where are we at? Last one. Very consistent and reliable, predictable behavior, routines, etc. I guess that's kind of what I was talking about with following the rules and establishments and stuff. So, Craig, you hire people and fire people. Would you knowingly hire an Asperger's person, and why?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Why?
Well, you're talking about intelligence and loyalty, and he's not going to get caught up in office politics. He's a problem solver. I mean, there's no reasons. I mean, those are great reasons to hire that guy.
So why would a mother or father be hysterically tearful, feeling hopeless because their child has just been diagnosed with autism?
Well, I think what you're talking about here is different than like the Rain Man,
right?
Example.
Yeah, he's actually not Asperger's, probably, in the word that we described Asperger's. That's more really on the autism spectrum, definitely on the higher end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to tell you, I peeked at some of those names on this article.
Oh, don't do that.
And so, I think whoever decategorized this thing made a mistake. Because this sounds like two different things to me.
It is, but it isn't. You gotta realize autism, there is such a range, and we're looking at it on spectrums because, somebody that's depressed, I mean, severe depression is on the same continuum, and you have the same depression experiences with somebody who's really only mildly depressed. And that mildness of the same things, you and me would never identify that this person's depressed. But if somebody's severely depressed, there's no way we're not going to know it.
Yeah, but
right?
the traits, the traits you're talking about here, I mean, can be a genius, very loyal, looks for patterns, is a problem solver. This sounds like a highly intelligent individual to me.
That's what they are. Yeah.
But somebody who's on this, if this is a spectrum, and this is just a highly functioning autistic person, if you look at a person who has autism who is not a highly functioning, it's just not even in the same ballpark, it doesn't seem like.
Yeah, I can't.
These guys, some of these severely autistic people need
they can't
24/7 care.
Yeah,
they
can't function well.
They can't. This is not the same thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the spectrum. I tried to just explain it, but I guess truthfully, I kind of just agree with you. I mean, it's. I just agree with you. It's very frustrating to me that we lost the term Asperger's. The drawbacks. Here's where we want to help people understand what they need help with. And this is the answer to my question: why would a mother and father be in tears, in fits of tears, if their kid is diagnosed with autism? Well, because honestly, Craig, dude, it's tough, man. They struggle. Oh, they struggle. They don't play well with others. How are you supposed to get along and make friends? I mean, they're very isolated. They feel very lonely too. It's like I said with the real emotions earlier in the show. I mean, can you imagine, Craig? Let me back up. So I kind of said this when I was talking about schizophrenia, when we did another show that was specific to diagnosis and stuff. I really have spent years trying to put myself in somebody's shoes, and in some ways that's incredibly impossible, because I can't know what it's like to be autistic. I'm not autistic. I'm not. But so I've spent time trying to imagine what this is like, and it's part of what I hope I'm able to convey. What I've understood by talking to so many people that are struggling with this, so that we can have increased knowledge and understanding of it, because it's tough, man. And so being put in the shoes, I mean, can you just imagine, Craig, wanting to have friends, wanting to be close to people, and not be alone? I know I don't even have an interest to share anything with you, but I also at the same time don't want to be alone. And I know I don't really understand feelings and emotions and whatever, but I have them. Yet, people don't really connect with me. They don't understand me. They look at me funny. They walk away. They won't be my friend. How am I going to feel? Like, it's pretty desperate. In that regard, it's like super sad.
Yeah.
They're struggling because they don't play well with others. And so they're not developing those peer relationships and stuff. I'll tell you, it doesn't burn off in adulthood either. Another big drawback is that, they end up being very critical. If you have a wife with autism or a husband with autism, they know the best way to deal with the budget is this. You're not right. I'm right. I know I'm right. I've studied it. I've researched it. How many books, Craig, have you read about budgeting? I know what the best budgeting strategies are. So that's just the way it's going to be. And you're stupid, by the way, for thinking otherwise. Right? They really can appear very, very logical, very, very insensitive and emotional. And, I know what the deal is. That's tough. Because they get highly critical. They just don't even know they're being critical. Mm-hmm. Another big drawback. They can be, as I just demonstrated with this little Mon trials I just jumped on, they're very inflexible. They're not going to talk to you about your ideas. They already have them. It's clear. So, and it cannot change. We're married and you want to move? No. You don't like the house anymore? No. Suddenly we have 4 more kids than we had when we bought this house. And you want to move? No. Very, very rigid, very, very inflexible, very, very critical. They know the best plan, and that's just the way that it is. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah.
Another drawback that they need help with, or that is a tendency. It's kind of embarrassing. Truth of it is, can you imagine, walking down the street and your dad has a tick and he just jutting his shoulder out like that? I made a gross movement where I'm throwing my shoulder up to my ear and moving forward. I mean, it's like, oh God, Dad, don't do that here. My girlfriend's coming over. Can you go in the back room, Dad? It's embarrassing. With more characteristics or severity levels, the worse that it can be. So it's embarrassing to family and friends. You can get into trouble for fights or disagreements and social norms, right? There have been many people, I would venture a statement to say, Craig, that they have been incredibly inappropriate sexually with the coworker, and they have Asperger's. And Craig, they really don't know they were. It's like, well, I wanted to touch you, and I touched you. What's the problem? Well, you touched me a little bit too long and not quite the right place, and I'm very uncomfortable with that. And by the way, I was creeped out with you before you touched me anyway. And they really don't know that they did anything wrong, right? So it's just, that's an example of some stuff that you can get into, some trouble that you can get into. What are we at? Understanding apathy and understanding sensitivities and understanding the realities of validating your partner's feelings and whatever. They don't get it as much. It's all emotional. So they're really going to appear indifferent. They're really going to appear like, you know what, I'm not, you can come, you can go, doesn't matter. I'm fine either way. I'm really doing my thing. And, it's a single activity. You really don't need to be a part of it this week. Mm-hmm. See you next month. What do you mean? We're supposed to go out on dates, honey? No. I'm in my study. I'm doing good with stocks, making money. It's good. Like it's, we're supposed to talk. Why did I bold this? What did I read in bold, Craig? They're getting tired of my voice. Sorry, this is one that I'm talking a lot with, I know, but G, bold, star, star, star.
Oh, you're asking me to read it. That was a hint. Okay.
Yeah. My mouth's dry.
Can ruminate extensively. Dangerous when in heartbreak states or angry with others or lonely and alienated.
Okay, listen. Yeah, a drawback, right? This is a concern because in a big way, the pain that can be had when you're in a bad state and you ruminate. You cannot stop. Now, we all experience this, but this is like tenfold, right? We all experience this, but this is tenfold. I cannot stop thinking about my girlfriend who broke up with me and will not talk to me. We have to talk. I'm in pain. And I can't fix it. She won't talk to me. And they stew and stew and stew and stew and stew and stew. Like it doesn't go away. I can't stop thinking about it. Really. Like we all get heartbroken and feel that way, Craig, right? Can you imagine bumping that up in intensity level with getting stuck on this? And the longer that happens uninterrupted, they can take action. It can be dangerous. Fights at minimum or other things. And so that intense focus on something that you really love and care about that's been squashed and destroyed. Well, now I'm really, 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 really angry. And I'm going to blow up. So that's why we really need to get these guys help and to love and care about them and help them feel accepted. You know, you got a buddy that's at school and they're not really fitting in with the group. Go have lunch with them. Let them sit at your lunch table, you know? I mean, that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. In the adult world, I mean. Unfortunately, we don't have a bunch of kids listening to this program. So, you know, we're all in a playground at work, Craig, you know? Just let that person in with the group. They want to be there even though they look like they don't give a rip. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's been enough of me in my thoughts and what we know and what we're looking for. Yeah, you broke the mold, Craig. You already went and looked at the list, dude. That ain't right. How have you heard what I've tried to describe, and more importantly, what I'm trying to convey emotionally about people that we have seen, guys, the listening audience? You absolutely come across this. What do we say? 1 in 59 kids, Craig. This happens a lot. There are a lot of people that have this going on, and I guarantee you there probably isn't hardly one of our listening audience that hasn't come across these folks. So have I done a job to convey the emotion of what goes on and a little bit of an understanding of what it is? Do you know more about it than you used to? Because I think this is one where you weren't really sure.
I think you did fairly well. I mean, you just outlined what that might look like and what are the positives and maybe some potential drawbacks. And I think it was I think you did a fairly good job of explaining it.
Okay. Wanted you to get a good genuine reaction from your list looking, but because before the show, before the mics came on, we were chatting, and I was like, "Oh, hey, you got to have this article up on your computer. Make sure you get this one." And he kind of looks at the first one. He's like, "Oh, really?
Yeah,
Dan
you probably should have waited." Yeah. So
Should've.
What Chris has got here is he's got history's 30 most inspiring people on the autism spectrum, and some of these names are very interesting. I mean, Dan Aykroyd's on the top. You guys know who Dan Aykroyd is? He's a comedian. Hans Christian Andersen, Benjamin Banneker. I don't know who that is. African American.
You scroll down, I think they got descriptions. Yeah. Okay.
Susan Boyle. I had heard that before. Tim Burton. You know, Susan Boyle's the America's Got Talent or Britain's Got Talent lady that was such a big hit. Tim Burton, movie director. Lewis Carroll, author of Alice in Wonderland. Henry Cavendish, scientist. Charles Darwin, naturalist, geologist, and biologist. He
Darwinism.
The theory of evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Emily Dickinson. I'm not even going to say that name. I don't know it. Nobody else will either. Albert Einstein.
Who's he?
Probably the smartest person who ever lived. Bobby Fischer, who was a chess master, who was I think he's considered the greatest chess player of all time.
He's amazing. Bobby Fischer, there's a movie about him. If you like chess or even just like this idea, I mean, you know, of people that operate this way, like, dude, he like I said, it's just pausing there with what I know about Bobby Fischer and how this works. I mean, pull that all together for a second, right? You know what? Let's go to everyone's heard of Einstein. That's probably a better one that people can relate to. Look at the patterns in the stars and understanding on a way that you and I can't think because we're not wired that way. That dude saw stuff and understood stuff about the patterns of what he was looking at way before any scientific person could have done that. And that's nothing more than the fact that he was wildly interested in it, and he saw how a train moves and how a dot on the space-time continuum moves, and he thought about it differently. Like, it's just amazing to me. Bobby Fischer, he sees a chessboard. I mean, you know how those guys see a chess game? You don't know much about chess. You don't play chess, do you?
No, not really.
Dude, you know how to play tic-tac-toe, right?
Yeah.
You know what happens
I know
with
how to play
tic-tac-toe?
chess. I'm just not very good at it.
Right? So you play tic-tac-toe, and after I move and then you move, you pretty much what? You know how the game's going to go, right?
Yeah.
People see a chessboard that way, dude.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
No, I can't imagine that at all.
Like tic-tac-toe, you know when it's going to be a tie, or you know when, he's going to win. After 2 or 3 moves. After 2 or 3 moves in chess, where there's hundreds probably of combined moves and sets of process that you could have, they see that whole game the same way.
Wow.
That's trippy.
That's pretty cool.
Who else we got there that might make sense? Bill Gates.
Yes.
Who's he?
Bill Gates, the co-founder of the Microsoft Corporation. I might have to argue with that one, though, right? I mean, didn't you say Aspergers were obsessed with making things work?
Oh, come on, man.
I mean, right?
That ain't right, man.
Yeah,
that ain't
is
right.
too.
So go on down the list right there. Go 1, 2, 3, 4 down there, buddy.
Yeah, Steve Jobs is on the list too.
Yeah,
who absolutely got it right.
He's supposed to make things that got it right.
He did get it right. Yeah, he got it absolutely right. And the thing about Steve Jobs is he was so meticulous about the whole product. So if you open up my MacBook here, the inside that nobody probably ever see their entire life is perfect.
What?
Yeah, he was.
What do you mean by that? I don't understand.
Like if you open up inside of a computer, it's just a bunch of wires. But he was meticulous about how it was all supposed to look, even under the covers, even inside of the case. So if you opened up the computer, it's perfect.
So if you opened up your Mac and I opened up my Microsoft PC, I guess you're saying we would see what you're saying?
Yeah, you'd see that. And like if you ever buy a Mac, if you buy a what is this thing, an HP? Yeah. It's in a cardboard box. It's got styrofoam wrapped around it. Dude, you go to the Mac store and buy a Mac. It comes in a nice, elegant box. It's nicely packed. I mean, it's an experience buying a Macintosh.
So the reason why we've had this whole Apple Microsoft debate over the years, Craig, is because your Asperger's OCD need to have the nice, pretty box thing. Is that what I'm finding out today?
I'm just saying. I mean, you're talking about being meticulous about the way.
Just trying to be
apparently Steve Jobs, all the things you talked about, he just said, "Hey, this is the way it's going to be." It's going to take 2 weeks? Bullshit. It's going to take 2 days to get it done.
Right?
People were like sleeping under their desks at Apple in the beginning, trying to get it done.
I saw that movie. There's a movie about his life, isn't there?
Yeah,
what is that?
There's a great biography too that what's the guy's name? Walter Isaacson wrote. It's great if you're a reader. Daryl Hannah, Thomas Jefferson, Stanley Kubrick, Michelangelo. How would we know that?
Well, it's a good question. And some of these, you kind of look back.
Mozart's on there.
From afar. We didn't know what Asperger's was then or autism was back then. So we see these famous people. And that's why I said, Craig, we don't know. Aspie's a term, people that are in the field, it's like, we're looking, he's Aspie. He's this, he has those characteristics. Kind of like I said about your climbing fella that we watched the other day.
Yeah, he's not on the list here.
It just you kind of could tell when you get a gut feeling, or of course you don't know. So some of these people that are old, we just see characteristics. Sir Isaac Newton. How do we know that he's on this list? How do we know that?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because you see the characteristics, the facial expression, the video of them from black and white shows or famous interviews that they were in, and you kind of make an estimation.
Yeah. Jerry Seinfeld.
I know. I just saw that.
Nikolai Tesla.
How's Seinfeld on that? That's funny.
Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
That's about the only names that.
Yeah.
I'll include that link.
Yeah. It's a cool list. It's the same thing we did with schizophrenia. Because people, listen, you see these weird things, we don't really fully understand them, that's full of fear, but listen, these people can be very high productive people in our world. And I hope that we've done a little bit of a job to take that myth out and to lose some of the frustration we have. I'm going to go ahead and say something that I think people have probably said before. I'm just debating in my head whether I should do it or not. So get ready for a nip and tuck and delete if you think I shouldn't say this on the show, right?
Okay, we'll pause for a second.
Pause. You know, our current president, I very much wonder, out loud, there's some of these characteristics there. And, like him or dislike him, whatever your political persuasion is, he might be super highly intelligent. And I've heard people say that. He's also, just pick a tweet, not quite dialed into the emotion. This may be some of what we see and what we're experiencing and why it can be so frustrating to some. And just not understood. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Interesting perspective on that.
Right?
Yeah.
I just got to wonder. Now, listen, guys, I have no idea. I never met the guy. I can't diagnose somebody, and I ain't trying to do that. But I'm just sort of saying a pause. We don't really know. You don't really know somebody. You see some characteristics. You see some traits. It might be. And bigger reason of why I said that about, President Trump is because I'd rather you be aware of the kid at school who's really struggling, because you could really be helpful if you see some of these traits and you see some of these characteristics. They might feel really lonely. Go be a buddy. Go pull them in. You might find out that you have something in common, and they have way more information than you can ever hope at having. Go make a friend. Look through some of this nonsense.
That's great advice, man.
All right. Not to, so we don't have to cut that out?
No, I was going to make another joke, but I don't think I will.
No, go ahead. I just took a risk. Go for it.
Well, I was going to say maybe the Democrats are Aspergers because they seem to be obsessed with this impeachment thing, right?
Oh, come on, man. Boo. Poor taste political speak. Hey, I don't mind getting political there now again on here.
They've been at it for 3 years, man.
Yeah, they have. It's been crazy to see some of these things. We're gonna go next.
There's a lot of mental health issues in politics. I
think
think
really
schizophrenia and delusions.
I think I liked you more when you weren't watching the news, brother.
Well, I'm pretty much quit.
Oh God, you're back you're back on the wagon.
Well, here's the thing about politics. I've kind of changed I used to think just cut it out completely, right? Because you can't control it. It's a bunch of BS. But I think you have to at least be educated on what's going on, and you have to really dig for the truth, man. You can't you can't watch one place and get the truth. You have to really dig for it, and that sucks, but that's the world we live in now. But the ramifications, wherever you are on the political spectrum, the ramifications of who you vote for are big. So I would say at least maybe not a total news blackout, but just kind of dig through the thing and educate yourself on what's going on.
I think you just fell off the wagon and got on the wagon at the same time, man.
Well, I just don't want to be completely ignorant of
exactly
of what's happening in the country on the one hand.
Yeah, I get it.
On the other hand,
take us out of here super quick, and I'll tell you where we're going next and why. Parent Guilt.
Through atherapistdies.com, you can find entries to each and every show. I think this is number 70, so we've got 70 different shows on mental health and mental health topics. Got some great guests on there. You can also find links to our Facebook and Instagram. We would love it if you would leave us a review and make sure you're subscribed on your favorite podcast platform. We've got an email list you can sign up for. And again, that whole family products link would sure help us out to do some things we want to do with the show. And where are we headed, dude?
I figured it would be a cool follow-up to go with parent guilt. How's that for a universal topic?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Flying off of dealing with Asperger's kids and worried about some of these things. We blame parents a lot, and I felt like parent guilt is something that we all struggle with greatly, and I got a lot of ideas about it.
Sounds great.
See you
Looking
next
forward
week.
to it.
Happy New Year.